your book mentions, I mean, the title of your book is, about European Enlightenment, and then you talk about death in three acts, and you mention specifically the consequences of European Enlightenment being ecocide, fratricide, and suicide. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. So, and then this is connected to the idea of, that in the Western civilization, essentially nature is inert, and that has led to the exploitation of nature in Europe. So, how do you connect these three deaths to the exploitation of nature in Europe? Perhaps you would want to reflect a little bit on that.
Yeah. So once Hobbes declared, I say Hobbes, but he was quote unquote a spokesperson, shall we say, for that milieu. Nature is inert, but he has made that explicit statement, which we can then quote. Once that happened, and once the Royal Academy of Sciences was created, the funding went towards how best they could come up with projects which would exploit nature, right? Which would exploit nature, and specifically because those who were funding were looking for returns. The projects had to be tailored in that direction. It went naturally in that direction. One of the first things that happened was exploiting the mines for coal. Large amounts of coal mining started happening in Britain.
Interesting.
Okay, and along with the coal mining came the question of how to get the volumes out, the large amount of volumes out, and that's where we came up with rail lines. Okay, initially they were iron lines which were laid out, and they were horse-drawn. They were not yet steam engine.
Horse-drawn, okay.
Horse-drawn, yeah. The steam engine came a couple of hundred years later, but that's where it started. The exploitation of nature and denuding the landscape, basically disrupting the way people lived, communities lived. Okay, because remember, this has now become a top-down knowledge production, right, and implementation, right? So that shift started happening. Okay, as that shift started happening, they were then able to apply it, right, as the steam engines came up, etc., to steamboats, to having a global presence. Right, and through the global presence, everything went to exploiting nature for creating material wealth for few people, and you have seen that happen all the time, right? First it was coal, then it is oil, and so forth. So that's right, and that's the ecocide we actually have observed, right? Now. And all of that is actually this ecocide is reflected in the social contracts based society that we moved to. Christianity had this creator God, right? And there was some sense that the creator God has created nature for us to enjoy, but still we have to respect nature because it's God's creation, right? So once that actor was removed, right, and who became God? The social contract became God. Right?
So also by social contract, you mean what do you mean by
the Constitution? The Constitution. The Constitution is the social contract between the elites. The elites come together. They call it the Constituent Assembly, right? They put it together. That's the Constitution. That becomes God. We consider Constitution the God, right? So, yeah, everyone else then has to make their contracts on that platform. That's how it works, doesn't it?
Yes.
Right? Is it constitutional? You
Yes.
know,
Doesn't matter
right? So,
if it is ethical or it's anything else,
so,
but this
so,
is constitutional.
so I want to contrast that. I want to contrast that here with what our Veda teaches us, right? What our Veda teaches us that to be harmonious, to lead harmonious lives, we have to be in consonance with the Rita, the cosmic cycles, right? Now, how did we have these conversations? We had the conversations, let's say, through the Puranas, right, and our literature, where we brought the rivers, the mountains, the trees, the animals to life, and we had conversations with them. That's how we learned in our minds, maybe. Do you understand? We gave them respect, and through that, we came to ways of interacting with them. We told stories to each other about this tree. This, right? This is the way this tree behaves. This is the pattern it behaves. This is how we need to take care of it. This is the way this river behaves. Right? We gave it life. Right? When we create constitutions, right, at the top level, you look at any constitution, right? There's no, the rivers don't play a part in it. Do they? No, they don't. And the constitution, how it leaves out all non-human actors. Okay, all the non-human actors are left out. Only human actors, right, have roles in that constitution. Okay, so in effect, everyone is effaced. Gone. Yeah. So, and whether you replace this constitution with that constitution, etc., it's basically new social contracts, right? And that's the difference we have to understand. Now, what happened was when I'm going from ecocide, which we already talked about, to fratricide. So, what is this fratricide? First of all, someone who read my book wrote back to me and said, "Why do you call it fratricide? The way you describe it, it's really genocide." And my response was, look, I'm looking at it from the Devi's lens, the Mother Divine, right? From the Mother Divine's lens.
They're all children.
We are all her children. We are all brothers and sisters. When we kill each other, to her, it's fratricide. So that's what I came up with. Now, the people who were killed after the post-European Enlightenment, mostly, okay, whether it was through famines or wars, were the non-Europeans, right? For whatever reason, shall we say, they had not got the memo, right? They had not got the memo that the Europeans had become modern, right? That they were on the move and they were going to inflict their modernity on the globe.
Correct.
The rest of us did not get that memo. So, yeah. So we were taken by surprise, and they rolled in. They rolled in, and they said nothing is going to stop us, right? So for example, in India, the East India Company moved very quickly. Two things happened. One, and they converted large swaths of Bengal, Bihar, and parts of UP to opium cultivation, right down to Malwa. So the opium cultivation caused lots of famines.
Yes.
Famines and deaths out of it caused disruption, right? And deaths. So that's to me, that's part of fratricide. Besides all the wars and that they created along the way. Same thing later with cotton in Gujarat. It created enormous famines.
In indigo also, I think. Indigo.
In indigo, exactly. For the textile mills again, right? So that's where the fratricide comes in. Okay, and the suicide part comes later, starts coming in later in the 19th century, when the moderns, having done what they did with nature and rest of the globe, started looking at their own body, right, and saying, "Oh, even our own body, it's inert. We can do stuff with it." That's where the suicide comes in, where even the moderns, their own agency gets deprecated.
So
Okay,
it's like substance abuse and things of that nature.
Substance abuse is one. Software, okay, the whole automation process and the software process, right? You have something else sensing for you. You have something else thinking through for you. When you talk of AI, etc., right?
Right.
It's you are creating material matter, right? So that humans are no longer required to play a role in being creative and productive, less and less so. And that's where the suicide comes in. And you start seeing that in advanced countries where the birth rates are falling.
True.
Right? When birth rates start falling, that is mass suicide. The species, at the species level, there's a process of mass suicide that has started. That's right. And it's a natural trend. Okay, where when you start looking at humans being different, at that nihilism that comes in, where you have dissociated yourself from the cosmos. You are unable to see how your one pulsation among infinite number of pulsations, and to learn how to interact and dance with it. That's what our traditions tell us, right? So it's a very different way of looking at the world. And once you start looking at the world that way, a whole host of things follow.
Right. And I think this entire the death in 3 acts that you have so beautifully, talked about, expounded on, is clearly linked to the very cornerstone of their belief that nature is inert and that mankind is free to exploit nature. That it is nature's there for us to enjoy or for us to for our gratification. So that is the cornerstone of the Western belief broadly, and one could say that.
And the humans themselves. Then humans, because humans themselves, right? So we can replace this thing called humans also, except for the few people who have power. And increasingly, you see that happen.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.